Yeah, hi folks. Yes, our government is causing New Zealand's death by 1,000 cuts. They never do anything to enhance our freedom. Everything they do is about total control. They are so far removed from reality, they are completely incomprehensible. Just last week they cut us 5 times.
Reducing exposure to harmful content. That's the objective as the government today opened up consultation for what would be a reset of how media companies and online platforms operate. A new industry-wide regulator has been proposed, independent of government.
Yeah, now I'm not buying that at all, folks. It sounds like another Meng Foon to me, or a Kate Hanna.
While it would cover traditional television and radio broadcasters, it's the first time this type of regulation would apply to online platforms too, including overseas social media giants. The aim is to provide better protection for vulnerable groups, including children and minority communities.
Which minority communities? The new framework should recognise the harm Maori experience through discriminatory and threatening content. During our targeted engagement, we heard that Maori experience harm from content. Sometimes this is in the same way as other New Zealanders, for example, through tamariki, being exposed to things that are not age appropriate. Sometimes the harm is more specific through racist content that can be discriminatory and threatening. Yeah, so you can see what's going on here, folks. No one will be able to challenge anything Maori do.
A new regulator would also cover online and social media platforms, whether they're based in New Zealand or not.
Platforms are captured by the codes regardless of whether they sign up to them or not.
Change is needed for a very simple reason. The legislation needs to change because the environment has changed significantly.
Media and online platforms would have to adhere to new codes of practice, designed in conjunction with industry groups.
Even though the report says that there will be consultation with communities, it's critical that impacted communities particularly have more than consultation, because we have the lived experience. Those perspectives are absolutely critical.
Officials are confident the new codes won't impact press freedom or freedom of expression.
Absolute garbage. That is exactly what it is designed to do. Now, folks, meet the New World Government.
Get ready to live in the United Republic of the World Health Organization, because the country you think you live in will no longer have powers to govern if your country signs the World Health Organization Pandemic Preparedness Treaty.
Yeah, now New Zealand has been involved in this since 2021. Now, folks, this is from the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health. Now, you wouldn't know it, would you? In November 2021, New Zealand and other WHO member states decided to begin negotiating an international legal instrument on global pandemic prevention, preparedness and response.
This is the document we've been discussing at length. What it does is allow the World Health Organization to have all of the power to decide when you're in a pandemic, when you are in danger of a pandemic, and how you must behave, your behaviors socially, emotionally, online, your speech. This is what they're trying to do. This was originally endorsed by Boris Johnson and President Joe Biden in 2021, and now here we are in 2023, and the WHO doesn't have a very good, in my opinion, COVID report card, but we still want to hand them global powers over nation states anyway. Now, what the update is, because we've been updating you every time they release a draft of this document, and this, as it stands, that document will be revised and gone over again in July, and then voting will start to take place in 2024 for nations that adopt a full version. So we have some time. I'm very anxious to see that final draft that comes out in July. What we have now is edits to the World Health Organization's articles of international health regulations. And the reason that they're doing this is they have to it's almost like they have to amend their underlying powers in order to give themselves more powers. So they revise this document, and it's worth taking a look at because you can already see how this is going to go based on these edits in the first few pages. Take a look. They're saying, that how we're defining what we're doing here. They just strike the words non-binding, meaning like we're going to give these recommendations, either standing or temporary. But before we used to say that adherence to them, by nation states was non-binding. Now we're like, not interested in that. If you're in the WHO, it's binding. Does this power only kick in when we're in a pandemic? Oh, no, it does not, according to edits to this document. It kicks in whenever they feel like we should be preparing for a pandemic. You see the word prepare there, like if we think that they cross out here public health risks, they're saying all risks with a potential to impact public health. Now, I think why we need to notice this is because you see the language ratcheting up, telling us as a society, you have mental health issues. You are very anxietized. People hurt your feelings all the time. Mental health and words are hurting you and have the potential to hurt you. So we can say now, not only do we have to have some endemic disease, but we can also say that there's a potential for a public health risk. And so that gives us the power to say that there may be something at risking the potential to negatively affect public health, right? And will they respect our freedoms, right? No, they just cross that one out here in Article 3. Normally, implementation of regulations would have full respect for the dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedoms of persons. No, not interested in that. Just cross that right out. But we will say based on equity and inclusivity and coherence. Yes, please laugh at this. Thank you for laughing at that.
Who is the person that's like, let me get out my pen here, my strike-through pen. This is my special strike-through pen. All right, human rights. Let me scratch that out. Human rights, dignity. Yes, let's scratch that out as well.
Will they maintain the power of surveillance if a small country doesn't know what to do? Yes, they will. Here's Article 5 saying that, look, we're going to tell you need to have the power to survey your population. If you can't do that, developed state parties and the WHO will assist you. So okay, you're too small of a country, Cape Verde or whatever. Don't worry, because we're going to have this on lock, this surveillance thing. And what if officials in your government don't agree that there is a health emergency? They don't matter. Here is how that previously was written. Can we go to the next one that says number 3? It says before, the WHO would have to consult with the state party in whose territory the event is occurring. They don't have to consult anymore. They can come into your country and say, you have a pandemic. And if you don't like that and your health officials are like, no, this is not a pandemic. We all have colds or whatever. We're not going to give you no, they decide when you have a pandemic. In fact, it removes altogether the idea that any given state could push back on whether or not there is a public health emergency. See this edit, number 3? Totally crossed out, saying if, the director general and the state party, they don't agree on a consensus on whether there's a pandemic or a public health threat, then this is how you mitigate that. Gone. No mitigation. The WHO is just going to tell you.
And now they're raising the price of alcohol in the middle of a cost of living crisis.
Good to see you. Good morning. We've got a lot to get through this morning, so I won't waste any time. This increase on excess duties for alcohol will see for the first time 50% of a dozen beer will be made up of tax, that's GST and also excise. Is that a bit unfair in a cost of living crisis?
The change in excise for alcohol is something that's happened every year since 1991.
Oh, so that makes it okay then.
It's a CPI calculation. Yes, it's a higher increase this year because CPI, the inflation has been running higher.
Yeah, so let's make inflation run even higher.
I don't think anyone likes to see the price of beer and wine going up, but ultimately it's a change that's basically happened every year.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to make the change. There is a lot of leeway and discretion in the legislation that you can change that figure. So during a cost of living crisis, when Kiwis want to go and have a beer to unwind from work on a Friday, you're going to charge them more and the brewers aren't happy.
I mean, ultimately, if the government was to decrease the levies in this space, we'd need to find that money from somewhere else. So,
well, you could have easily found $140 million here. Oh, look, a rugby game is about to start.
There are not a lot of good news days in climate change, and this is one of the best.
This is a template for governments and steelmakers around the world to think about decarbonisation.
This deal stacks up on just about every measure that you could measure it against.
This is also incredibly good for the New Zealand electricity sector.
Our intention is to install an electric arc furnace, powered by firmed renewable energy and consume recycled scrap that would otherwise be exported.
So I'm very pleased to be here today to announce what is by far and away our largest Giddy investment so far. $140 million of co-funding.
For a very wealthy corporate. BlueScope today reported fiscal year 2022 net profit after tax of $2.81 billion. Australia's biggest steelmaker, BlueScope, bolsters coal import capability at Port Kembla. Yeah, so while Kiwis pay more for beer, Chippy has just made a coal-polluting corporate much richer.
For the construction of a new electric arc furnace here at New Zealand Steel. This will be the largest single emissions reduction project in New Zealand's history.
Oh, I'm so happy. That makes it all okay then. To some more waste.
No, my hawky, my. Police cars are turning green with the first frontline trial of electric vehicles. 5 BMW i4 cars will be tested across the country for 6 months, deployed on road policing operations. The car model starts at $110,000 and can zip from 0 to 100 k's in under 6 seconds. It has a maximum range of 590 kilometres, although terrain and heavy police kit will affect that. And it takes 2 hours to charge with a standard charger.
Yeah, but that's okay. The criminals will wait. Yeah, now for the life of me, I cannot comprehend how electric cars are going to stop ram raids. Now, I thought policing was about policing, not virtue signalling. Anyway, folks, I've posted all the relevant links below.